All right, we're back. Discipline to Win, episode 51. Today we welcome John Malecki, Pittsburgh native, former Pittsburgh Steeler, entrepreneur, YouTuber, to the virtual studio today. John, welcome to Discipline to Win.
Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Looking forward to the conversation. Love talking to a couple fellow Pittsburghers.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think our connection, John, is you went to the local high school here. So our business is headquartered in Murraysville. So you went to Franklin Regional. And so, some of our team here, I guess loosely knows you and your family and everything like that. So small area, but nice knowing we had that little bit of connection back to you.
Yep. Yeah. Born and raised in Pittsburgh. Grew up in Murraysville. Went to Franklin. Graduated in 2006. So it's been a minute.
For
Sorry, I
sure.
feel I feel old when I say that. This is our 20-year reunion coming up.
Is your class doing a big get together?
To be honest, no one's doing anything. They're pretty much lazy bums. So we've got nothing going on there. But I'm out of the loop, which is also highly possible.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining today, John. I think you've got a very interesting story, and it seems like normally people are either great entrepreneurs and they completely ignore content and social media and media in general, or people just focus solely on media and content and they're not manufacturing anything or producing anything and they don't have a business. But from just loosely doing diligence on you online, it looks like you've been very successful as an entrepreneur, very successful as a creator. So I'm really interested in hearing where those two things evolved, which one, started first, and how you made the jump from being an athlete, into both of those two areas.
Yeah. Well, where would you like me to start? You want to go the whole way back?
Yeah, I'd say go the whole way back. I'd say like, from when did you, shift from focusing on being, the highest physical performer possible from being a professional athlete, to, creator slash entrepreneur.
Yeah. So as a young man, I was chasing my dreams of playing in the NFL. I was pretty fortunate. I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and I was picked up as an undrafted free agent by the Tennessee Titans. I bounced around to a few teams, ended up landing on with the Steelers for a few years there. And with that, just had the blessing of like all my friends and family got to enjoy that journey of being on the team for a little bit. And when I got released, it was kind of unexpected. And by kind of unexpected, I mean like very unexpected. And I wasn't quite ready or prepared for like the next phase of life. At that point, I was on my fifth team. I'd been cut 13 times in a little over 3 years. And I was just more or less like I did exactly what I wanted to do, and it was becoming more of like a drain and a drag. I was very much a long shot to kind of like make a team. For as big as I am, was quite small for playing center and guard. And I never played guard or center in college or anything. So I was like all these components and whatnot. My heart didn't feel in it, so I hung them up and didn't really have a direction to go. Growing up, my dad always hustled to make an extra buck, and my mom owned a hair salon in Swissvale. So I had like the hustle and entrepreneurial kind of blood to me. I picked up woodworking as a hobby in my last season in the NFL, like just building stuff around the house, and stuff in the garage or whatever. And I was trying to figure out where I was going to go with my life. So I was hanging out at my buddy's house, drinking beers and building stuff for it for about a year. And people just started asking me to make them things. And so I kind of just started dabbling and jumping into that world. I took a few job interviews, and in that process, I'd more or less realized like, I don't want someone else to control my destiny anymore. I want to give it a shot of controlling my own. Getting that last cut was like completely unforeseen, and it was something that I didn't want to have to feel ever again. And so that was like, you know what, let's try to figure this out as like owning a business and seeing kind of where this goes. And that's more or less like what kicked off the journey. I had no skills in building things. I just grew up in like a blue collarish family. I could like hold a power tool. I knew I could learn. I knew that I could put in physical time to do whatever the thing is. and like kind of take the work ethic that got me as far as it did in football and apply it to wherever I decide to go. Um, and so that's kind of how, what like more or less what kicked it off. And then since then, I picked up a camera to kind of get noticed. That's back in the early days of 2013, 14 of Instagram. I was looking for clients, and when you make things, you want them to be seen more or less. And Instagram was like a new world for it. Started making content there. Started getting some attention and filling the pipeline, and picked up a camera for video's sake in about 2016. Started making YouTube videos, and at some point along the way, YouTube started to become more profitable than building and selling custom furniture. And at the time, my girlfriend, now wife, I was remember looking her in the eyes and being like, I'm gonna go do this content thing full time. I'm gonna stop selling furniture to custom clients and whatnot. And since then, I've been more or less focusing on media as a product, and then building businesses on the back of the eyeballs that we draw to the business. So that's the short of like how, like where we are, and you turn around, it's 2026 now. So it's been a minute. I've been doing this for a long time now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like you got into content before everyone was doing content, right? Like now in 2026, everyone's filming themselves, everyone's vlogging, everyone's streaming, doing YouTube, but you were definitely very early to that. And even in our journey, we've tried to capture a lot of those moments, especially on the rise up and the build of our company. But I guess for you, in terms of starting that early, you've scaled a tremendous YouTube following on two separate channels, over 1.5 million on your main channel, almost a million on another channel. Throughout that journey, I guess talk about how you effectively scaled your audience as kind of like a part one question, and then how did you begin to translate that into truly monetizing your audience, which you've clearly done very, very well.
Yeah. So growing an audience comes down to the same thing as like growing a business. You have to understand who your customer is and how you can serve them best. And a lot of creators and a lot of businesses don't necessarily think that way. And it's wild because a business has to their advantage an exact understanding of who their perfect customer is. Like you guys, it's written down. Like for the most part, most businesses pretty tight on that. But then they go make content for whatever they feel like they need to, and they just completely throw that to the wayside. Well, content and scaling an audience is no different. If you get pretty targeted and aligned in who you're trying to build your content for, and then just continue to serve them and learn from the data that you're given from making content, that's how you start stacking those wins. And that's exactly how we found winning in the building and maker space and the DIY space, as well as in the, tool entertainment, whatever you want to call my second channel space, because we were trying and testing new things, looking at the data and the analytics, realized there was a split as we analyzed the back end data. Both were winning content strategies, but different audiences and platforms like audiences to stay tight in order to serve them to more people that are similar. And so we split those off, and our second channel is a little over 2 years old and is the primary revenue driver for the whole business at the moment. And so to scale audience, you just got to think of it that way: is if you want to grow following, identify who you're trying to serve, how do you best serve them, what uniquely makes you different, and then strategize against that. Once it comes to monetizing them, now you already have that information to your advantage. So you could provide products and services and knowledge products and whatever that facilitate the gaps in their lives. And that's, in its most basic terms, the model itself. But you have to continue to beat the drum. Client acquisition and then fulfillment is how every business works. You get customers, have widget or product or service, and then you fulfill. It's no different with content. You just got to look at it and say, I produce content in order to bring new eyeballs to the product, even if the product is the content or you're selling them physical goods or whatever. And then you have to fulfill on the other side of it. It's kind of like, I like to say all the time, it's like building a business backwards. And when I mentor creators in our coaching program, that's how I lean into. It's like, you got the eyeballs. Now we got to figure out how to turn them into cash flow for the business. Um, so yeah, it's not as complex as people think, but it does take intent, which I do most people don't think about as like being an influencer or creator, having a big audience. Like, oh, you just got all these millions of people, you can sell them whatever. It's like, no, I really can't. No, that depends. It really does depend on who your people are.
How far into the build of your audience base did you start to focus on that intent and the monetization? Like, at some point you definitely had to make the decision. How far did you let it build organically and naturally before you tried, monetizing it?
Not day one, I'd probably say day two. Like, I never got into this for wanting to be famous or grow an audience or have people eyeballs on me or whatever it was. Like, I, from the beginning, started making content in order to drive clients. 100% it. That, or I wanted to build relationships with brands in order to garner sponsorship deals, which is another part of the model. So I never, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people in the creator world like look at me and know that I'm different, just because they're like, oh, I just want to be famous. Like, I want to go do whatever I want. And I want to turn the camera on and I want to get millions of eyeballs and make millions of dollars. And I'm like, no, I want to build a business and just have it happen to be based around making content. So I was a very early adopter of brand deals and monetizing my following.
Yeah, I think it's probably the purest form of like organic growth driver and marketing is just putting out the content. We've in our industry, which is very sleepy in the wealth management space, it's mainly older advisors. The average age of a financial advisor is late 50s, early 60s. None of them are great with technology, media, content, anything like that. So years ago, Nick and I started figuring out, again, who's the ideal client that we serve and figuring out those niches of ideal clients. And now we produce 6 different podcasts that are focused just on that client acquisition function. So I think probably any service business or any product, like you said, could probably benefit from producing content solely to attract your ideal client.
Yeah, there's not I'll argue till I'm even more red in the face that there's not a single business that exists that you cannot find a way to create content to bring benefit to your business, whether it's a founder-based content strategy, whether it's like directly at the consumer, whether it's consumer pain points, whatever it might look like. You're not gonna hurt your business by making content unless you're an idiot and you do dumb things that are intended to hurt your business, right?
Right.
Like, if you're
Right.
I got a message from a business owner in one of the like mentor groups that I'm in, and he was asking me to like look at his stuff, and I looked at it, and all he does is shit on other people's products. And I was like, well, you're not going to really build trust with people and you if all you do is shit on everyone else's. I was like, kind of try to adapt that Donald Miller story brand, like all ships rise to the tide. If you're able to like answer comments about other people's products, you will become more trustworthy within the industry, right? And you're not going to ever avoid competition. So why would, like, if you want to sit there and bash it, you know, no wonder no one trusts you and wants to buy from you. You're dick. That's literally the only way I think you can hurt your brand, by making content.
I think that's a good segue too of obviously you started with the woodworking and then you start doing this content, you're driving this different types of business to your page and then it eventually expanded into all of these different offerings. And now you said, I think earlier on the tool side that seems to be your main revenue driver. Can you kind of talk through the evolution of that as you continue to make content and maybe it was people reaching out to you asking certain questions? I know the safety glasses are a huge part of your business as well. Can I just talk about how
Mhm.
the the interaction from your viewers help to drive what you now offer from a product standpoint and a service standpoint today?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold. Like, you got to have a plan going into it, right? Like, and if you're at net zero and you want to get into making content, throw whatever you want and then brings you joy at the wall if you can. And then whatever sticks, you could kind of start leaning into it, right? A little bit more. But if you have a business and or you already have an audience, you should have a strategy to grow that audience in the right vertical. Like, so you should have audience identity alignment, in just the growth segment. And then you should have products that align with the audience that you're trying to grow, right? Like, I'm not going to go and try and sell wealth management products, right, to a bunch of guys that, primarily eat their meals at gas stations. It just doesn't have that alignment there, right? And also potentially not a great customer for that product. It's no different than like, if you bake cakes in your content, you're not going to go and try and sell tires for your car. That makes crystal clear sense. But a lot of people don't really realize that even if you're 1 degree off from who your person is, you could be completely missing in your marketing for the product you're trying to serve them with. So as you grow and you understand who's watching your content better, the pain points and problems that you're solving for them become a lot easier to fill with, however you want to try to monetize it, physical products, digital products, services, whatever that might be. Um, so I highly always advise on thinking about who your content serves, right? Then how your products can facilitate them if possible. Sometimes you already have the products, and then you're like, oh, I got to make content for that. You just got to widen that up because you might only be a tenth of what they think about, and your product might be your whole existence, right? So you have to make your content for the 90% of people that only think about you 10% of the time, you know, and it gets a little bit more dynamic. But yeah, you can have 1,000 followers and monetize them. You can have 100 million, and it's the same strategy. You just have to be intentful with who the person watching your stuff is, and knowing that you can't just throw anything at a big audience.
Yeah.
So going back on your intent, saying that you really had this objective day two, you know, did you dream this big from a, subscriber base and an audience base? How did you define success initially earlier on compared to where you're at today? Have you exceeded your initial objection? Are you still working towards whatever that initial objective is? I guess, how do you define success at this point?
I mean, that's so it's something I'm working on now as like an adult. When I got started, I was just like a kid and I'm still figuring things out. I've still never really been like a goal-oriented person. I understand the power and the impact of it. And also like the clarity and just reverse engineering a goal and working towards an objective instead of making it up as you go. But getting started, all I wanted to do was win. Like it goes back to being an athlete. Like I just play the next play, and wake up every day and just keep playing. And I think it's one of the main things that has helped me sustain being a creator and doing what I'm doing for 13 years now is I just don't look at any day as a loss, like, or anything that happens to me. And so as far as like exceeding expectations go or goals, it's like, I mean, yeah, obviously you want to go play button, like that's awesome, but it wasn't something that I was like constantly chasing. I've always been way more motivated by dollar signs. I've always been way more motivated by, the body of work, right? Like I want people to think positive, kind, caring things about me as a human, right? And that's way more important to me than a gold play button. So I don't make kids content. I don't make content in verticals that is highly polarizing that gets tens of millions of views. You could literally just turn the camera on and be like, "Oh, let's talk about this subject today."
Right. Yeah.
I'm not that kind of creator. Um, I so as far as exceeding expectations go for me, or like reaching goals and objectives, like I said, back in the day, I just wanted to like do this for a living. And now that I get to, like, my goals are much more oriented towards like my team, right? Like I want to, I want to make multiple millionaires from my team. I want to see the people that surround themselves well, excuse me, that I surround myself with succeed and prosper in all aspects of their life. I want to help them reach their goals. I got a lot of young guys on the team. The creator world attracts a lot of young talent, which is awesome. Um, I'm much more focused on that now than kind of most like kind of guess anything else, right? I never had like you look at a YouTubers are like, oh, I want a Lamborghini, a house on the beach, right? Like the pretty girl, like, all right, I got a couple sick trucks, sweet house, amazing wife, family, kids. Like, I money in the bank, like, get to do what I want every day. Get to build businesses, talk to awesome people. Like, I'm happy as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's a couple physical things that are going on. There's not a complaint in my life. So I'm much more aligned with reaching goals that are associated with the people around me, I think, now than I used to be.
So I think that's really an important thing and a great byproduct of growth that sometimes when you're starting a business, you don't realize that. But even in our journey, when we originally started, it was just us and a couple other people. And now we have an organization of almost 40 people. And to your point, you want to see other people in your organization become millionaires. You want to see other people in your organization or on your team earn this success because they're putting in the work and they're doing the right things, and you essentially build the scale and platform to do that. I guess kind of talk about throughout your process as you've gained more followers and as your business has grown, how has your team scaled, and I guess how did you navigate that? Because for a lot of people in jumping from, I guess, a really small business to operating a mid or large size business, that scale is sometimes difficult, and how to really show that value to the people who work on your team. I guess kind of talk about your philosophy around that and kind of how you structure your culture and your organization to drive that vision.
Yeah, I think one of the most impactful things to understand as an entrepreneur at any scale is that as the CEO or founder, like your primary objective is to do exactly that, like set the core standards of what you're trying to accomplish as a business, build the vision, build the mission, and then push for it and don't relent. And that goes across the board. You get really caught up in the weeds, especially if like you're in a hands-on thing, like you're in the trades or something like that, where like you feel your value is built towards like the product that you're putting out there. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. But at the end of the day, the the value that you can, you know, disperse into the people that are around you is just as impactful. And that's a lot of more of the impact as a creator with a large following that you can have on the world is like, spreading that out there. So when it comes to employees, and for me, um, we hire culture first around here, um, because of anyone that's, we've ever let go has been a poor cultural fit. I feel like skills can be learned a lot. A great cultural fit, no matter what kind of business you operate, um, will always be a better hire than someone who has massive skills and then doesn't get along with the team or the way you do things. So we're very that's like a number one thing on our when we're going to bring anyone onto the team. Two, we really try to um align the long-term goals and objectives of our employees with the goals and objectives of the business. If you can find that in hiring, I found that it's just, the sky's the limit with potential for all parties. And it's as the owner, it makes my job a lot easier because I'm helping bring the dreams to life of the employees around me. Um, and so with that, it's on me to, learn the skills and delegate those and appropriately coach, mentor, look in the mirror a lot, grow internally, and then make sure that my team is, um, aligned with where I'm trying to go, what I'm trying to do, and that I can teach them those skills and help them in areas of deficiency or where they want to grow and where they want to learn as well. And it's no different being a creator and a YouTuber than it is in any other business. I think a lot of people think it's like this different space, but the reality of it is like there's guys cranking and ripping on the computers right now. I got three guys in the warehouse right now waiting for a giant truck full of trucks to do a truck delivery at the moment. And like there's very normal business function inside of a creator business. And so the hiring process it's one of the only areas you can kind of pull and learn from traditional business to see like what's scaled. Books like I just had my whole team read Good to Great, and they're all sitting there. It's like, half these businesses don't exist anymore, but the core reasoning that they were successful is just as applicable to a creator business like mine as they are to a wealth management company or, one of the big four. It's the same thing. So it's not that crazily unique, but those are a couple things that we stand on around here. We're definitely culture first. And I try to align the long-term, goals of the individuals to the long-term goals of the business. So we're all winning in the thing together when I hire.
It seems like you're, really big into mentorship and coaching, and I am too. I think it's extremely healthy for both the entrepreneur and then also trickling that down to the people on your team. I was a center in college as well. Come from a football background. Nick was a baseball player, so we're big in athletics as well. And it's interesting to me how much the core of being an athlete translates into entrepreneurship and business. And I got to be coached by and learn from some people that I thought, were bad examples, and you learn from them, and great examples, and you take those things with you as well. Do you have any coach or mentor in your journey that, everyone has that one person where you can almost still hear them in the back of your mind that keep you on the right track every day. Is there any one person throughout your athletic career that you've taken principles and leadership philosophy that's carried over into your business?
Oh, for sure. I mean, one of the questions I get asked a lot is like, how do you take anything from playing professional sports or sports at any level and then apply it to where you are now, right? And one of the easiest things to do, I feel like, if you were a good athlete, was just learning how to be coachable, right? But then also having the ability to look in the mirror as a business owner, an entrepreneur, and go get coached. Like, you don't have all the answers. Like, the most success of it, it's wild when I tell athletes this, because they usually like have egos and get pushback. We all do. I'm like, the most success you've ever had in your entire life is when you had a coach. And now you sit here and you think you know it all and you can do it all because you were successful in one vein. You're not anywhere close to that anymore. Go get coached, read a book, join a group, do some things to improve yourself, because the reality of it is, I'll say it again, all ships rise at the tide. And if we can all help one another and grow together, we grow faster and it's way easier and more fun. That's why I love, like, I was playing football. I loved it. Ultimate team sport, argue it till I'm red in the face. But the environment that I try to build is based around what I had success at, what I'm conditioned to be successful as a young man, right? Those were incredibly impressionable years. So going through those journeys, you can't do the same things you did on the field in what I do now, right? Like, I'm not an offensive lineman. I'm not like dissecting defenses and watching game film, right? But I do, I did learn some things, and I had some great coaches. So I was blessed to play with, um, like Dave Wannstedt's staff at Pitt. Buddy Morris was the strength and conditioning coach, and he was like a second dad to me. Um, More or less instilled a level of discipline and tenacity, and effort into me that was like simmering under the surface that I had. But when you have natural talent and you're really young, you don't necessarily need to like pull into that. And he pulled a lot out of me that I didn't know I was capable of doing, when I was in college. And so a lot of the lessons of, like, first in, last to leave, never accepting average for anything that you're doing, right? Like, that's stuff that I got from him as our strength and conditioning coach. And I still reflect back on, like, walking into the weight room at 4:30 in the morning, not being able to yawn with my shirt tucked in, wearing the same clothes and holding standards to such a stupidly high level at 18, 19 years old. And now as a 37-year-old dad, I'm like, oh, I get it. It makes sense. Like,
Right.
if you can get that instilled in your business, you can't lose. You literally
Yeah.
can't. And that's, they're trying to condition us to. So Buddy Morris would be one. He was huge. And then, Coach Wannstedt in general he was just a great, like, overall mentor, had a very keen sense for team efficiencies and team function, like kind of picking each other up and working together. One other, I like to tell the story that, LaShawn McCoy is probably one of the best athletes I was ever blessed to playing with. And I had to go pick him up for practice every day the first summer he came to Pitt, because he was a tough one to get out of bed. We'll just say that. And I hated it. I literally hated every minute of it. I hated that I had to take care of this dude who was supposed to be like the, God's gift to the team and stuff. And he was, but he couldn't take care of himself. But then when it clicked for LaShawn and we were able to bond, like, we caught so much momentum after that. And then I learned that's like, it's not about the me, it's about the we kind of thing. And so Coach Wannstedt, was phenomenal at instilling those kind of things into individuals. So he was also a phenomenal mentor. I had such brief stints when I was in the NFL. Like, I played with Mike Munchak, he was another really good coach, held a very high standard, but was also very approachable in that, Hall of Fame offensive lineman, in the NFL. And then I had a bunch of, what was interesting was then I had a bunch of jokers that I was able to, like, know exactly what not to do. And I think as an adult, especially, I say this all the time. I was like, you only have two options on how you're going to approach something. You're either going to do what you know, or you're going to do the opposite. You very rarely do you flutter between. This comes out for me all the time as a parent. You're like, am I going to handle this like my dad would have, or am I going to do the opposite? Right. And if you look at yourself in the mirror, you ask yourself that all the time. I find that it's quite a prominent fixture in my adult life and my entrepreneurial life. So I see all the shitty coaches I had and what made them suck. And I just don't do that as well. So it's like, I try to take as much as I possibly can from that experience. Um, and at this point of where I'm at today, my YouTube journey, I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I'm at without the mentorship of Daryl Eves. He's like the goat in the YouTube space. Great mentor of mine. mentoring me for like 6 years or so, helping me learn that world and navigate content and all that fun stuff. And for the past 2 years, I've been been in Dan Martell's mentorship program. If you're not familiar with Dan Martell,
Yep.
he just, the way he packages and delivers information resonates really well with me. And I've doubled the business the last 3 years since joining his program, and he's I think he's a phenomenal communicator for individuals like myself and just in general. He's a savant of, I think, systematizing life and business in general. But my yeah, going back to the core of the question, Nick, is my accountant hates me because he just sees I spend stupid amounts of money on coaching and mentorship
Yeah.
and things consistently. And back in the days, like, I don't think you should be spending 90 grand on coaching, you should be hiring. And I'm like, no, I need the knowledge. Like, I need to be pushed. And I've always been someone to like gain the knowledge kind of before you need it. And as you start to build and the momentum of the business goes, you're glad you have it and you can start stacking wins a lot faster. And so I invest a ton into coaching and mentorship. So I'm in a couple groups and stuff. And like different, I would say different pools of business and whatnot. I'm a huge fan of it. I wouldn't be anywhere I am without it. Massive advocate for coaching and mentorship.
You just talked about how doubling your business in the last 3 years, all of this growth that you've had in a relatively short period of time. But you have this wonderful family as well. And I know that's a very hard thing for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You have this dream of building something incredible and building something great, but you have the core of your family and your support system that deserves equal, if not more time and intention that you're putting into the business. But sometimes for individuals like us, it's very difficult to do that and find a way that meshes and works. How have you been able to do that successfully throughout your journey as you've built the pages as well as your business?
Yeah. Like, amazing question. I love this question. I think the key to success as an entrepreneur in today's day and age is finding the balance between personal and business, like you were just talking about. And the key for that, in my eyes, in my experience, is reverse engineering the life you want and then applying your work to that life, not try to build the life that you want by working towards it. Like, you have to start with where you want to be. If you want to be home at 5:30 at night eating dinner with your kids every night, you have to build the calendar around giving you the opportunity to do it. If you don't want to work on weekends, you got to build the business to have you not working on weekends, right? If you just constantly react to what's happening in your life, specifically in your business, you're going to never have those opportunities. They're just not going to, they don't just happen over time. You have to be incredibly intentional with your time. And that's been the big key to success for me. Like, I'm home at 5:30 every night with my kids. I put my kids to bed every night. I eat dinner with them every single night of the week. Um, I don't work on weekends, and I might be giving up opportunities in certain areas and specific things. But for me, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without the ability to go do those things. Right. I also, us as entrepreneurs and just men in general, I'd say, like, we need filled back up. Like, I need to go golfing. I need to go fish. I need to sit outside in silence and stare into the woods. Like, I have to. If I don't, I'm a shittier version of myself for my team. And then on top of it, on camera, and for the millions of people that rely on me to, bring joy into their lives every time we publish a long piece of content. So the best piece of advice I can give as finding balance with personal and professional life is, one, reverse engineer the life that you want, starting with the calendar. Put it on the calendar. You want to spend more time with your kids? I cuss, so I'm trying to hold it. Put it on the damn calendar. Right? And then you are going to have to reverse engineer your day, your life, your week, your month, your year to facilitate the things you actually want to do. And then once you figure it out, you start stacking those wins. The next layer of that is building a team and systematizing what you're doing to get you out of the weeds that actually sucks up your time and not allowing you to go do the things that you want to do. And a lot of entrepreneurs just completely forego that part. We're here in Pittsburgh, the old school mentality of like, I have to do it all. I'm uniquely positioned to be this person in this thing. It's complete and utter BS. Like, you're not unique in any context whatsoever. Your business problems are not brand new. Someone else has had them. You're not doing anything new. You're different than everybody else around you. Yeah, but your problems aren't. They're solvable. Change your mindset on it and figure out how to fix them, and you will get the results you want. Um, And anytime I talk to someone who makes excuses, like I have 4 kids, I see them every day, right? I'm doing all this. I put out more content than every creator in my niche, bar none. No one touches it, right? I don't make a single excuse to miss a piece of content or miss anything from my family. And that's because I built the system with my team and the intent to do that. And they're all the same way. They're out of here at 5 o'clock almost every single day. They get to go home to their families every night. We rarely have something blow up and burn. My buddy the other day, he owns a business here in Pittsburgh, was like saying some junk about how, he can't take a vacation and can't do all this and that. And I was like, oh no, I got to get hip surgery in 2 weeks. I'll probably be out of the office for a couple weeks there. Everything will be fine. He's like, what do you mean? Like, how'd you do that? I was like, oh no, I thought about it and made a plan. I had to tell you this for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. Like, my team will prepare for what's going to happen and get it done. Like that's how real business growth happens and real growth in life happens. Right. I set that goal when I had my daughter, my oldest daughter's 5. And when we had her, I set the goal of wanting to be able to be at every sporting event on every weeknight that I can, right? And so 5 years ago, I started building towards, in 8 years when she'll be in that kind of mix, 7, 8 years old, I could be there. And it doesn't happen overnight, but consistently reminding yourself over time, like what's your purpose and what's your intent here is I want to be able to go and bug out at 3 o'clock and go watch my daughter play softball if that's what's going on that day, right? I don't want to be buried under bullshit in my business. That means if I have to hire someone to do something that it costs a lot of money, I figure it out, and I think it's a cop out to not do that. And then to sit there and pride yourself on like, oh, I got all this shit to do. I'm so busy, blah, blah, blah. You're busy. It's your fault. Nobody else's. Look in the mirror.
Yeah, I definitely fell into that. My first few years in business, I just did everything. And my oldest
Yep.
son, I probably missed the better part of the first 2 years of his life where it'd be sometimes like 5, 6 days, especially because that was the year he was born. There'd be 5, 6 days I wouldn't see him like at all.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long for my wife to be like, yeah, this is just not worth it remotely at all. And that's when I realized I had to start letting go and then bringing in other talented people, more talented than me, people smarter than me. And that's when I got that freedom and time back in my life. And also when the business just so happened to also take off equally, at the same time. So I think,
Crazy, isn't it?
right, right. Yeah.
You're better at your job, and so is the person you hired to do the thing that you refuse to give up just because you're being stubborn, right? And now all of a sudden, you're 2xing, 3xing, 4xing the output you were trying to get simply by stopping doing the thing you don't like doing. And I was the same way, man. Like I was a grinder for the better part of like 7 years, sleeping on my buddy's couch, 14-hour days, like 8 days a week kind of a thing. Like you couldn't get me out of work. I just couldn't get out of my own way. And then I met my wife and it was like, oh, I think I'd rather spend time with her than sucking in fumes from my angle grinder or sawdust in my shop on a Saturday. Like
Yeah.
she's way cooler, and fun than that. I was like, but I don't want to make less money. So I'm going to figure out how to, amplify real
Right.
time while I'm doing the thing and then that's where this ball started rolling for me. It did take that slap in the face though. For me, it was
Almost like, because we've talked to so many entrepreneurs because we did that at the beginning, and it's almost like you have to go through that for a couple of years, like as you're building the foundation, and then you have to realize like, wait, because if you start the other way, I think it could potentially, like, it's impossible to start everything perfectly. Like you almost have to go through that. It's like just the cost of doing business and then realize like, wait, like what am I doing here? Like this is like not efficient or effective. And honestly, the business isn't growing even though I'm doing a million different things. So we definitely learned that in the first like 2 to 3 years where we did every aspect and we're like working so ridiculously hard and we're like growing, but we're like, we should be growing a lot quicker than this with how much we're working. And then we found key people and figured it out. And it's like, wow, this is like actually how it's supposed to be done. This is how the best people in the world do it, where they're involved in 50 businesses, but somehow they all run super efficiently. And yet they're taking vacations and they're home with their family and they're doing all these things. Again, there's no substitute for hard work, but it's how do you do that in the most effective and efficient way? And I like your analogy of really like framing the life that you want and then working backwards from there. Because in business, that's all that we do. You look at the end result of how do we build this? How are we going to create this vertical? What does success look like? And then you work backwards from there to figure out what the key objectives are to achieve that. So I really like the way that you put that.
I think it's like a trap that new entrepreneurs fall into because in the early years, you almost wear it as a badge of honor, like, hell yeah, like I work 18 hours a day, like you said, 8 days a week, like I work harder than everybody else. No one's outworking me. And you like that becomes part of your identity. And so it is honestly tough to let that go and not work as much because you feel like when you're not working, you feel like I should be doing something right now because in the beginning, if you're not growing when you're doing everything. But then you got to like just get through that and let go and let the team pick up some of that slack. But yeah, I think it's to Nick's point, it's almost like you almost have to go through that and it finally teaches you. I just forget whose podcast I was listening to, but it was this, it's a little vignette about a person seeing somebody, super wealthy, happy. And they said, how did you get wealthy and happy like this? And, the older man just says two words, good decisions. And they're like, okay, well, how'd you learn how to make such good decisions? And he's like, one word, experience. And they're like, okay, well, how'd you get that great experience? He's like, two words, bad decisions. And so it's almost like you have to go through those bad decisions and that, making not necessarily doing the right thing to get the experience you need to make much better decisions for you and your family. It's almost just like a process.
Yeah.
But I think everyone gets
Big,
it.
yeah, I think a big takeaway that most business owners and entrepreneurs don't realize is that it is okay to look at your scenario and say to yourself, it doesn't have to be this way.
Mhm.
And it's such a hard thing to do because you're just constantly pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I've got every single answer or whatever, but I mean, I know the things that that are non-negotiable in my life. And I also love to push, right? And so like I'm up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every day doing a bunch of stuff, right? And it might be healthy, it might not. Sometimes take care of myself, sometimes I'm not. But the reality of it is when things feel like there's a ton of pressure and they suck, if you can just stop and look at it and go, it doesn't have to be like this, you're able, and that's the blessing of being an entrepreneur, to pivot, shift, and make changes. Where if you work for somebody else and it sucks, they get to make that decision. You don't, right? And so like give yourself that grace and opportunity as an entrepreneur to like pause and go, dude, I absolutely hate the way this works right now. Stop, plan how to fix it, and then just execute on it, right? If you're like, I don't, whatever it is, I find myself spending way too much time doing bookkeeping. It's like, okay, well, I need to probably hire someone, right? Or like, I'm an email all day. It's like, well, get an assistant, right? Or there's solutions to everything. You just gotta like pause and tell yourself it sucks, and it's okay. It's okay to be in the suck. You don't have to embrace it forever. Like it gets better, but it takes the knowledge and acknowledgement of saying, oh, it doesn't have to suck this much, right? Or maybe I should find someone else that's in the suck like I am so we can work through this thing together, you know?
Right. Yeah.
There's a thousand ways to solve it, but it starts with that in my head, in my opinion.
For sure. Well, I think one last question, John, just to close things out with. What is next for you, your brand, your team? What is the next big goal or thing that the next hill you guys are trying to tackle and accomplish together?
Yeah. Um, so the next sort of big thing for us is like one, I launched a coaching and a mentorship community last year where I'm helping creators and business owners grow their businesses using content. I've learned a lot and it's been incredibly influential in my life. And I think it's like I said, I think it's 100% the future. You have a business, you should be making content. And if you're a content creator who wants a business, like I love helping facilitating that. Love having conversations like this. So the growth and the scale of that business is a big next thing for us. As well as our safety glasses company is growing pretty fast, and getting that in at scale, to a larger and wider audience, as well as it's like a pretty much its own full self-sustaining business. Is like another big objective, and we're in the works on launching I think a fourth YouTube channel coming up by the end of the year. We launched a kind of like a talking head channel earlier this year, something just fun, a little more off the cuff. And we'll probably be doing something a little bit more in this vertical, like kind of business life growth talk. I think by the end of the year. So those are kind of like the three big things. Is throw some gasoline on the coaching community, take Shop Shades to the moon, and watch another channel for the media property side.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, John, it's been an absolute pleasure to all the audience out there, go and follow John Malecki everywhere there is social media, on YouTube, Instagram, and go and shop all of his brands and items, and start up your own woodworking shop at home following along. I know we have people here at our company that are going to love
Yeah.
to hear we talk to you, because they do a lot of this stuff at home. So good luck in all of your ventures, and thank you for the time today.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me. Good luck with the rest of well, good luck with the show and wherever it goes. It was an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to everyone out there, stay disciplined.